Welcome back, everybody, to another weekly fitness chat and live Q&A with legendary strength coach, according to Men's Health Fitness Magazine. Dan, John, and Dan, I'm sorry to hear about the third place in the trivia last week, but I figured let's start on the low note because we can, hopefully only move up from there.
Yeah, it was just me, Kelly, and Kyle, and I thought we battled fourth, but one of the things is if you don't have another team had 8, and if you just sometimes with the song, like there was a song from Prince that you just needed like another ear to get it right, but me, no excuses.
That's no excuses. No regrets. So how's your training been, Dan? How have your workouts gone this week?
Been really good. So good. I did that. I did Rusty Moore's 2-week virtual fat loss boost.
How the results with that turn out?
Really good. Now a lot of your listeners will go, well, I'm about to say a number, and you'll be like, well, that's not a big deal. But I'm down 7 pounds in 2 weeks, and the reason that's a good number for me is that I started that gets me to 34 pounds since January 1st. So wow. I'm not necessarily sure I was going to get
That's awesome. 34 pounds since January 1st. And that's a good span of time now. So it's not just like the overall number, which is impressive, but I mean, so like a half a year worth of weight loss to keep it off is a very impressive thing. That's really cool. Congrats, Dan.
Mike Brown gave me a piece of advice. I thought that was, in hindsight, was even better. So we got down to 102 hard. Okay. So 224 pounds the hard way, I saunaed, I did the extra walking. Basically, I starved for about 2 days to get down to 102 kilos for the weightlifting meet. Okay. Mike's idea was this: stay there and lift another meet at that weight. And so, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks after the state meet, I competed at the 102s, 224 again. And really, all my prep work diet-wise was making sure, I had my lifting boots and my singlet. I mean, I was down.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going to get down to 96 kilos, which is 211. Now, whether I do that, I got a meet coming up August 27th in England. Whether I do it for that meet or not really isn't that important, because when you throw in travel and when you throw in COVID restrictions, and I'll be doing workshop here and a workshop there, and but in the future, the idea is this: do what you got to do to get to 96 kilos.
Yeah.
Get there, hover, do it again.
Right.
And for me, the weight seems to be the hook.
Yeah.
So it's not the first way in, it's the second way in. And I don't know if the listeners can use that as much as I can.
But let me ask you this. This is a tie-in. This is something that brought up, I think, a little bit in our previous conversation, but I'd like to explore it with you now. Is how important do you think it is that people have something that they're working towards outside of the gym that relates to what they're doing in the gym or the kitchen, right? So it seems like your weightlifting competitions have been a really good source of motivation and deadline and accountability for your weight loss goals.
Yeah.
And you're not just focusing on weight loss for the sake of weight loss. And, people do that. That's fine. But how important do you think it is to have something sort of extrinsic, maybe it doesn't have to be like a high level competition, but just something, right?
Yeah. So personally, I've been told this. I was told this at the Olympic Training Center. I've been told this in various degree programs. I'm a person who doesn't need a ton of motivation. Okay. So, I'm not, gentle listener, I'm not better than you or worse than you.
Just more handsome.
Well, I mean, with a face like this, who needs radio? So for me, whatever engines that run me, I have some experiences in my youth that seem to motivate. It's very easy for me to not do something like, I gave up, like I've said before to you, I gave up soft drinks for Lent in the 8th grade, and I never really drank them ever again. Yeah. Now I am now, because when I go to a bar, I have a diet drink. Right. And my trivia games are at a bar, and I'm trying, if you want to lose 34 pounds in a year, you have to, you cannot drink calories. I think
I think that's one of those simple rules, right?
Yeah, and
Is that
it's
just if nothing else, one simple diet tweak is get rid of liquid calories as a
yeah.
general rule, right?
Yeah, some idiot posted on one of my things. Well, you always say to drink protein drinks in a mass training program. Yeah, it's like if you can't even read your own sentence,
I
don't
mean,
be
it's
pushing it.
like where is I don't want to get into the rants too early, but it seems like we can't help ourselves. Like, where is just like the simple charity when reading other people? Like when we what like yes, when we offer general rules, we don't mean that there's never any exceptions. Like if somebody can't charitably understand the difference between a Pepsi and a high fiber protein shake, I don't know where to take the conversation after that.
Well, or
I
even
guess like yes, it's liquid. Fine, fair, but I mean just
in a mass building program, yeah, drink calories. In a fat loss program, don't drink calories. I mean, I don't.
right. Or even if you do, there's just clear relevant differences between a soda and something that is specifically formulated to
Oh,
control appetite, get protein up, get your vegetables in, even though it's liquefied. That's what I'm complaining
yeah,
about,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Because but obviously I've gotten that comment too, Dan. So
yeah.
we share in our
So it's
mutual
okay.
agony here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So to kind of get back to the I like what you said. For me, and I'm a big believer in the why question, but as you might know, I also believe I'm more of a believer in the 5 why question. Hold on just a second, I'll explain that. But for me, so there is that burning thing every time I play with Leo. Leo's my new grandson. He's 4 months and a couple weeks. My nephew Brian and my niece Rose are expecting here. I think.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, good for. He's had a tough couple of years. His dad, my brother Phil, is the one who died. He's also a famous JAG for the Navy, and he became sadly very famous about a summer or so ago because he was doing his job, and a certain person didn't agree with him doing his job. Losing his father and that at the same time was tough. So I'm glad. And then of course, his wedding got canceled 3 times because of COVID. So he deserves some happiness. But
Indeed, yeah.
when I think about Leo, and I think about my future great grandson, and I think about Danny and Josephine and my daughters, I want to be around for it. And so one of the ways I can be around for it is to I got to bring down my body mass. I mean, on the listeners, I'm not just talking about personally in my case, I am probably losing lean body mass. And that's not a good thing, but I'm still snatching 3 to 5 days a week. I'm front squatting 3 to 5 days a week. It's not like, I haven't turned into a marathon runner here. I'm just trying to lean out,
Right. And nature does seem to favor the wiry. This is just one of those things. Yep. Right.
Mm-hmm. The 5 whys question, I talk about it in a couple of my books, but it's like as a coach, you say, you count up the number of missed tackles in a football game. By the way, missed tackles in a football game, an American football game, and losses are one of those almost 1-to-1 correlations.
Sure.
And then, so you say, Pat, on this play, you missed the tackle. Why? I couldn't get to the guy in time. Why couldn't you get to the guy in time? Well, because Charlie was backing up into me. Charlie, the defensive lineman in front of you. Well, Charlie, why do you keep backing up? I was getting blown out by a double team. So then why were you getting double teamed where somebody had to be free? And then you find out that you keep asking, and you discover that Billy was totally exhausted, and but he was afraid to tap himself out because he was afraid he wouldn't play anymore. And so now I have to explain to the team, okay, team, if you're tired, let us know so we can sub you out. Okay. So the problem wasn't the missed tackle. The problem was my clarity on having tired athletes play.
Right. So you just the 5 why. What is it? You ask why 5 times, or
you ask why 5 times?
5 times, yeah.
And then
five sort of the magic number there. I like that. That's good.
And what was weird is that very often it comes down to the 5th why is a complete misinterpretation of something.
Yeah.
And in the book,
yeah, and you can't keep asking why forever, because at some point you're going to get, because my dad didn't pay enough attention to me or something. We don't want to go that far with the football players.
But the fact that Billy was getting pushed back on a double team because Charlie was tired, Charlie, why'd you stay in the game? Well, I heard that. Oh, the second you say I heard, you know that you're about to hear something wrong.
Right.
And it could be so okay, guys, and then you write it down in your notes. If tired, tap your helmet, get yourself off the field, or just start running to the sidelines. And the assistant coaches should know when a kid's running to the sidelines, someone needs to replace them.
Right.
The 5 whys, if I say to you at a weightlifting meet, on your first attempt, why'd you miss that snatch? That's probably not a good time for the 5 why question. A good time for the 5 why question is the day after you bomb out. I say, okay, what happened? What did we do wrong? Well, and then of course you get to the 5th why, and you find out that the person took laxatives to drop weight and was holding in diarrhea. Okay, so that's a completely different. So maybe next time don't take laxatives the night before a weightlifting meet. What do you think about that?
That's a good lesson learned. Like it, or ease up on the chelated magnesium, as we say, right? It'll get you at some point.
Oh yeah, it works, but
yeah, it works, right? That's actually was one of the sort of like initial supplement tips that I got on like magnesium dosing. Is you just like keep pushing it up until
you get diarrhea.
Until toilet violence happens, right? And
yeah,
then you just pull it back until you pull it back slightly, and like there's your good.
My early advice for fish oils: you kept adding a pill until you got diarrhea, and then you backed off.
And then you just pull it up a little bit. And, so let diarrhea be your guide, right?
And
the diarrhea guide to health. Yeah.
What people discovered it was the nice thing is that if you have a higher end product, it would take you 3, 4, 5 days, and if you had a lower end, a poor product, it might take you longer. And so if it takes you 19 to 20 days to figure out your dosage, 19 fish oil tablets, you probably don't have a very good quality.
Probably not a good, right? Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why I like chelated magnesium. You can figure out the threshold pretty quick. Mm-hmm.
And that's a fun discussion. Since we're talking about how wonderful I am, last night I'm almost finished with the second part of my easy strength course. It's the easy strength for like athletes and performance.
Fantastic.
And I think honestly, 3 of the best things I've ever written are in there. Tell you what, is there a way I can send you a? Can we share one of the
email chatty chat? Yeah, figure that out for a minute. I'll tell the audience a few things. So, gentle listeners, we are going to do Q&A here shortly and presently. So I already see there's lots of good questions there. So please submit whatever you have for Dan and myself in the comment box. And we always enjoy your contributions. And please, if you haven't already, please like this video. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe. That always helps the show. And that reminds me, there was an email from somebody I promised we would get to at some point. So I want to for a question. In fact, Dan, go ahead and make your comment, and then I'll come back.
So I just put the article on stretch reflex, and would you mind sharing it? Can you share it?
Did you email it to me?
Emailed it to
yes.
Pat.
I will grab it right now. All right, there it is. Tell us about what this article is.
Well, it's one of the issues I have teaching.
It's a Word doc. So I will paste this in the show notes afterwards. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So people can read it.
So, okay, so I think the mistake people make when I teach easy strength, it's all about getting stronger. And then how do you perform is the body basically is a bunch of bow and arrows, a bunch of slings. The best way to throw, kick, hit is to turn your body into a whip. But it's more than just whipping, okay? So if I take my finger and I just slap it against my hand, it makes a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear that? But if I go like that, it makes more. So stretch reflex is when you bow and arrow the muscle. You pull the muscles, and then if you do it right, you let it go. Now, that is elite performance. Elite performance is blocking, which allows the upper body to fly forward, to whip. Yeah. Elite performance is turning your body, all your muscles into little bows and arrows, so they all snap. And elite performance is when you do 3, 4, 5, 6 of those things at once,
mm-hmm.
mindlessly, effortlessly, and all of a sudden the discus goes farther than you ever thought possible.
Right. Snapacity.
Well, it's the snap, and snapacity is the work capacity to make sure you get a lot of those back to back to back.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah,
thank you very much for that. What I will do is I will put that article in the show notes over at Chronicles of Strength once we are wrapped up here, so people can check that out. And then Dan, for those who want the fuller course, Dan John University, is that the place to go?
And it should be. I mean, obviously, I'm still working on it, so probably next week. But yeah, I think this is a good thing. And then, if you recall, every article has a video. I mean, every part of the thing has a video, a reading, and questions. And the thing is, the questions, even though they're all pretty obvious, I would suggest going through them and answering them when you take the course, because I think you have to have some engagement as a reader. And there'll be 2 or 3 things. Like, I will still have the history of the 40-day program, and I'll have another article from the first Easy Strength called Understanding Heavy, because that's the hardest thing to explain in Easy Strength, is what's heavy today might not be heavy tomorrow.
Right. Weird. Yeah. Excellent. Let me take this question from email, Dan, if that's okay with you, and then we'll start jamming with the audience here. So this one comes from Paul McQueen, and he says this. He says, I just finished Dan's 10,000 swings workout challenge and really enjoyed it. My strength has went up for sure, but now I'm worried that I'm missing out on some dynamic fat burning. So he wants to know, what kind of program should he do next? He'd love to keep building his strength, but he would like to squeeze in some more conditioning. Paul has a 12, a 16, a 20, and a 24 kilogram. He's thinking about getting a 32, or maybe, or wonders if he should double up on some of the other bells. So, given that background, Dan, he just finished your 10K swing challenge.
I'd like to see his swings if he didn't think he got conditioning out of that.
Yeah, I know. I was a little surprised with that comment myself, but
wow. I mean, that was the smartest thing I've done this year. I started January off, the first 20 days of January, doing the 10,000 swing challenge. Most of the time I was down in my basement because of the weather, and because my group didn't want to do the swings with me, jerks. And I don't know if I lost a pound doing it, but it sure set me up to lose the 34 I've lost since.
Right.
Well, Patrick, you're gonna have to help me on this question. If the 10,000 swing challenge isn't dynamic fat loss, then I'm at a bit of a loss. I'd like to see your swings. I'd like to see, maybe what you're doing for rest periods. But the fact that you got stronger, but didn't feel like you got any dynamic hit, it's
dynamic fat burning is the phrase.
Yeah, well,
which is ambiguous.
And just remember, gentle listeners, that fat loss happens in the kitchen. Don't drink calories. I know, shocking. I just invented that right now. Eat more vegetables. Prep your food. That's where fat loss really happens. And by the way, as I proved on the Rusty Moore thing, I was shoveling down. I mean, the other day I ate a bowl so big of vegetables. I had slow cooked, probably 8 or 9 different vegetables overnight. And then I strained it out. It was in a chicken stock, and then I strained it out.
Yeah.
And I had a bowl about this big, and I ate the entire bowl, and I was still hungry, which I thought was fascinating. So satiation is a different thing for this boy.
Well, I'm with you. Know what? Satiation for me happens more. I mean, like, having a big bowl of broccoli definitely helps. All else equal, but I find that I become more satiated focusing on protein than anything else.
Yeah. And if I have protein and veggies, that was the mistake I made on that particular decision. I guess, I would, maybe Patrick, give him one of your programs. I like your, I like that. Is it Fast 15?
Fast 15.
Fast 15. Yeah. I knew it was Fast somebody. That's a good program. Your 2-week pirate map program where you start the day with protein, and That's another great one.
Yeah, the nice thing with Fast 15 is it will put in that nutritional component, and obviously I strongly agree with Dan. I think if you even just took the nutrition from Fast 15 and just kept doing your swing challenge, you would get the fat burning effect that you're looking at. I mean, nutrition is the hinge factor when it comes to fat loss. It really is.
Well, here, I mean, or wake up in the morning like you suggest, drink a protein shake, do 250 swings, have a normal day. Before dinner, do 250 swings. I mean,
walk.
If 2 bouts of swings don't hurt. Hey, I'm going to check this thing real quick.
Please do.
You'll still be able to hear me. So why don't you go ahead and, hey, good morning, Jeff, and everybody else. And
yeah, well, I'll highlight some stuff from the list.
Why don't you highlight?
You take care of business, gentle listeners. Returning to Q&A now, so now would be the time to send your questions in. We will tend to as many as we can while Dan refills his coffee. It is, of course, wonderful to see everybody this fine Tuesday morning. By the way, I've had a number of people email me wanting to make the live stream. If you're not already aware, it's the same time every week. We are live at 9 a.m. Central Time every single Tuesday. So I know that doesn't work for everybody all over the world, but that's when we do it. So we hope to have you there. If you have not already taken advantage, be sure to check out my free 101 kettlebell workouts guide. I'm going to have a new freebie coming soon for listeners of the podcast, so stay tuned on that.
What's that going to be?
It's called the I Bet You Can't Do This Workout Collection. So it'll be a fun one, and I'm just putting the final touches on that. So yeah, I'll have more to say about that later.
Okay, good. Excellent. I like that.
All right. Let us tend to some questions now. All right. Anthony says, are there any plans for a workshop in Poland ever, Dad?
Well, I've done one. I don't know. I don't know if I'll go back to Poland. I mean, it was nice and all, but it was, planes, trains, and automobiles. It was a long couple of days. So, but yeah, I'll do a workshop anywhere in the world, but I mean, let's be honest.
It's got to find a host, right?
Well, host, and then everything I've done has been canceled,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that just adds up.
Let me say this. I know we've said this before, is that a general good policy, if you want to advance yourself in life, is don't expect that everything's just going to come. I'm not saying this is you, Anthony. Don't expect that everything's just going to be hosted in your backyard. Right?
And even so, they don't go.
And yeah, and then because I noticed that there's Anthony. This is not you. I'm just saying as a general remark. Dan and I have both experienced this. Is that people will essentially be like, yeah, I'd come to this, but it's too far. When are you going to do it in literally my backyard? Then you do something that's like 20 minutes from their house, and they still don't go. There's that interesting correlate. It's almost as if they were just looking for excuses the entire time.
It is this will shock you, but I think many people say things they can't back up.
Mm-hmm. And I will say it was one of the best decisions I've made, not just in terms of fitness, but also my business and everything else, to get off my butt and make the investments to be places where I could learn from people who were smarter than I was and who had done the things that I wanted to do. Dan, we met. The reason Dan and I are having this conversation and have this friendship is because I traveled to Florida and paid a fair amount of money to be a sponsor at an event that Dan was speaking at. And that's how we met, right?
True story.
I didn't wait for Dan to come to my backyard.
And then I walked over and I said, hey, man, I know your work.
And I was embarrassed by that because I thought it was pretty crummy at the time, but it worked out. This week on Instagram, Arete Nation has a little thing about me talking about being at their camp. And you can see I'm sunburned. I'm sweating like a pig. And it's, they called me the legend. So another group calls me the legend. And it's an interview. I'm down in Arizona sweating my ass off at a discus and shot workshop. This is just a few weeks ago. Yeah. And, somebody asked me the day about, a good cert to go to. And they mentioned Fit Ranks. And I said, Nick's does a great cert. I really enjoyed it. Email back, you went to a cert. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I paid and went to a cert. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them. I've been to far more certs than I can probably even remember at this point. And some of them were pretty bad, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes you go to a bad cert, but good things come out of it, like the people you meet, for example, the
Well,
connections you make. Yeah.
and like I've noticed many times in my life, Patrick, is that like I used to do a lot of these $179 one-day workshops here in they host them at hotels and stuff, and they're one day. Oh, the one, I mean, it can be anything. How to use Microsoft Word. It could, would be on the smaller end. Multiple managing multiple priorities is one that I took that I thought was really good. And and the range can be phenomenal or terrible. But the thing is, it doesn't matter, because if you have your personal integrity, your academic integrity, you'll learn something. And by the way, when I go to these things, like even the kettlebell certs, and I watch somebody else instruct, sometimes the instruction, I'll be frank, is terrible. But if I lean in and listen even harder, I get something that changes the way I coach.
Yeah, that is such a good attitude to take, that no matter where you are, what situation you're in, find something that's valuable that you can take away, right? Rather than just trying to find all the things you disagree with. Right, right. That's not that impressive. Robert says, I'm looking to start Olympic lifting. It just seems awesome. So he can work on his strength and power for rugby. Dan, do you have any advice on how to start out, how to find a good coach? Yeah, how would you counsel, dear gentle listener, Robert here?
Well, go to danjohn.net and download From the Ground Up. It's a free PDF I have there on just this question. It's older. There's at the end, there's a mishmash of notes and stuff like that I don't know why I put them in there at the time. So it's called From the Ground Up, and I give you the way I do it. I wouldn't go looking for a coach. I'd get a broomstick and start practicing, and don't worry if it's not perfect. And then I'd put a barbell on. That's how I learned how to clean, and just start doing cleans and try to do some snatches. It's okay if it's not perfect.
It won't be at first. Never.
And then go to my YouTube account and look up goblet squat to overhead squat and do the drill I show you there, and just start doing it. And when the student is ready, a mentor will show.
Just start doing it. Always great advice. Um, Lefteris has a two-part question here. First, he says, what are the most important kettlebell exercises that are appropriate for disc herniation? I have to be conservative with my workouts for a while, but I want to maintain mass. And his follow-up is this: are injuries like lumbar herniation and shoulder impingement frequent in weightlifting circles? I fear that weightlifting is over for me because of these injuries, despite my young age. So what do we have to counsel this gentle listener with?
That's medical intervention. Sorry.
Yeah. Injury questions, guys. We would love to help you with this, but it's just beyond the scope of really what we can do on this podcast.
As for the second question, injuries are common in every sport I coach. But what injury means to me and what injury means to some other people are different things.
Right. So, Lefteris, what I would say is have hope, be optimistic. They're very common. Many people have, I don't know the severity of what you're dealing with, so I can't speak with 100% confidence on this. But relatively young, people have had these issues before. That you go get medical intervention, find somebody who can give you a good assessment to help diagnose what's going on, take care of you. And I'm willing to bet that you this might not be the end that you think that it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, geez, how many times has surgeons told me I'll never lift again?
Yeah, I mean, you're more machine than man now at this point, right, Dan? Right.
I knew you'd say that.
So what would you say in general, Dan, about people who, because you've dealt with a lot of injuries, I've dealt with a few, nothing too major, just to avoid the sense of, you got to do what's responsible. That's true.
Yeah.
You got to be smart, but I don't think we need to despair or be despondent, right? Yeah.
I mean, I would have had a injury-free career except for the DNA issues, except for trying to push the razor's edge. As long as there's a thing that's on the bar I go to. It's called the bar is called Ice House. It's here in Murray. That's where we play trivia, and they always have this thing in the background called Happy TV, and you see these skateboarders do all these amazing things. I guarantee those skateboarders have more injuries than any Olympic lifter. Parkour has more injuries than any Olympic lifter. I live in Utah, the greatest snow on earth, and you see those the tourists coming down the canyon, and all the time, with their legs, wrapped up and stuff, their shoulders, collarbones broken. It just, I think weightlifting is far safer than downhill skiing or skateboarding.
Professional wrestling and
professional football. So I mean, it's just, I mean, unless you're trying to break state records or trying to do some of the stuff I tried, you're going to be fairly safe in the weight room.
Right. But not even walking is completely safe at the end of the day. So we just have to do the best we can. Petri says, what are your gents' thoughts on goblet squat static holds? Not all the way down, but in the hole, but pausing when you are rising. And when and why do you do them?
Yeah, like horse stance. Yeah. Right? Horse stance, when you just stand in the martial arts, they do a lot of that, right? We just
we always we just live in the horse stance.
When I was young, they used to torture football players by holding them in the hit position for a long time. There's value to it. I mean, and the value might be in the fact there's a great scene in the movie Peaceful Warrior, the Dan Millman movie, where he bets, they make a bet about staying in the horse stance, for 5 minutes or something. Eric Heiden, the gold medals from the 80, the multiple gold medals from the 80 Olympics, and who is the surgeon, his surgeon center is where I go to. He was famous for being able to hold that stance for, like, I think his record was an hour or something. I mean, he took it as a bet or something. Is there value? Absolutely. There's always value in static holds. The amount of value you're going to get is sort of going to depend on where you are on the continuum. So when I was doing static holds back in the 90s, with 800 pounds, it's going to be a little different than a static hold with a 24 kilo bell.
Right.
But I think there's value to it. It's but one of those things, your mileage may vary.
Good. This is an interesting question, and in fact, it's relevant. Juggle Sean says, I'm enjoying dice rolling to add variability to my training. And the reason I say that's relevant is this new freebie I have, actually, to do the workouts. I'm telling people that you're just going to roll dice or keep it super simple. So he wants to know, do I have Dan's permission, however, to use a dice roll in easy strength, perhaps for the dice to decide the flavor of the 10 reps per day? Yeah, Dan, would rolling dice be appropriate for easy strength?
Yeah, it would have to be one die. Make the 6, let's go this way. If it rolls a 1, it's 1 set of 10, and it's an easy day. 2 and 3 are 2 sets of 5, because I think you need those the most. 4 is the doubles workout, a set of 5, go heavier, set of 3, go heavier, set of 2. And then 5 and 6, 3 sets of 3. Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, if that's what you need. I mean, I just did it naturally. I mean, I know when I need a break. If I say somewhere recently that, if I could do all my easy strength stuff again, I would have just said 3 days a week, 3 sets of 3, and make it Stephen Court's work in powerlifting. 3 days a week, 3 lifts, 3 sets of 3. You need more work? 4 days a week, 3 sets of 3, 3 lifts. More work? 5 days a week, 3 sets of 3. 7 workouts a week, 8, 9, 10, always 3 sets of 3.
Right.
But the problem is
Yeah, the thing that I think that is always the balancing act, right, is one, we know that compliance is generally better when we have less complication. We have just simple rules, right? Just keeping things simple. However, the other side of that is we want like a little bit of spice and variability to keep things a little bit interesting, right? So that's kind of the balancing act. I guess maybe that's where the idea of rolling dice comes in. Like, it keeps it really simple. You don't have to really think about anything. You just got to get your little die and toss it. But it makes it, but what am I going to get? Could be. Keeps it just interesting enough, right? Yeah.
I did that years ago with paleo, and whatever I was doing, low carbing, I guess would be a better answer. It's like a 1 was
you have 1 carb, 2 you have 2 carbs.
No, 1 is you don't eat that day. A 6 is a feast. 2, 3, it was like very simple, like just meat and leaves. 4 or 5, basically, meat and veggies, and then more fruit, more whatever. And then I rolled the next dice, and that picked my workout of the day. And then the next one was I have a bunch of. I think if you read some of my older work, you'll find the dice rolls a lot. The problem I have with the dice roll is it goes back to I know this guy named Pat Flynn, Flynn or something. He says randomness for fun, and the last thing I need in my workouts is fun. Personally, I don't need them.
Dan just needs business.
Yeah, well, my life is fun. So for me, I don't need randomness. Having said that, and this isn't, I'm better than anybody. I know many people who do need it. It's like I said the other day to somebody about, I was so blessed because I never, ever had an issue with sugar. I don't eat cake. I don't like cake. I'll eat apple pie, but I'll eat a piece or two and I'm like, oh, that's good. I get the soft serve ice cream with my grandkids at the amusement park. I love it. But I don't like, if you're to say, oh, we got a box of chocolates, my thought would be, well, I'll throw those away before you know it. So I'm lucky in that way. The sweets, no big deal for me.
Not too tough.
The randomness training, not a big deal for me. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just saying I'm lucky.
Just more handsome.
That's true. I don't have to worry about those things like some. Yeah.
Jeff says, this is not a question, but an endorsement. Well, hey, we'll take flattery all day long. And he says, I'm 5'2", 175 pounds male. I put on more muscle and definition with Dan John University than ever before. This year started with 10K swing challenge, then easy strength, and now post-deployment. Well, Dan's work is great, isn't it, Jeff? And congrats to you. That's awesome.
And he's 52. He's not 5'2".
Oh, yeah, he's 52. Good catch. Yeah, 52, 175 pounds.
Thank you, Jeff. One of the things that's nice about the workout generator and some of the programs we have is that, it's the workout generator gives you some randomness, some variability, and then the other programs are just the do this style. And I personally think that the best way to go through life normally is to do this. Okay, do this, and then have some randomness. Do this. The Tommy Kono idea. 8 to 12 week Olympic lifting meet prep, the Monday after bodybuild, and bodybuild, get your pump on, whole body, and then 8 to 12. I think there's some value to doing that both and. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the endorsement.
Let's give some shout outs. Alex says, hello, Pat and John, but he corrects himself. He says, Dan, sorry.
You're forgiven.
Bennett says, good morning, Pat and Dan from upstate New York, from Bennett's Functional Fitness. Shout out to Bennett's Functional Fitness. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know where you're located in case anybody needs a cool place to train if you're open for business.
And black coffee in here.
Happy for the gentle listeners to, offer a tasteful self-promotion in the comments if it makes sense to do so.
Absolutely.
Saul says, kimchi, shout out to Dan. I made my first homemade batch of radish and cabbage on Saturday, and we'll test it this weekend. So yeah, Dan, you have to give us an update. Are you still making the sauerkraut and the kimchi and all that stuff?
What I've done in the last couple of months is I buy almost weekly a gallon or two of kimchi at the local store over here. And it's nice because the ladies recognize me now. I'm still, and it's as simple as can be. When I was doing Rusty's 2-week thing, I just threw kimchi on top. In fact, that bowl of veggies I had, I was telling you, I just threw a bunch of forkfuls on top. Today, after I do my workout, I'll have my overnight oatmeal and kimchi. And I'm not making sauerkraut recently, only because I've been eating this kimchi so much, and the sauerkraut. Boy, I tell you though, making sauerkraut will be something I'll probably start doing again as the winter approaches, because there's something special about drinking. This is going to sound gross to some of our listeners, but a shot of sauerkraut juice is a serving of healthy gut biome stuff. To me, I find it really rejuvenating. And I got this, by the way, speaking of Poland, from someone in Poland. So
Paul says neither of you guys are Pat Flynn. Well, I don't know how to respond to this charge. I mean, I guess I can't prove that.
Well, show me your birth certificate.
But
show me your birth certificate. What, you some kind of foreigner?
I sort of just rely on dubious testimony that I am who my parents tell me I am, Dan, you know.
Wow. Geez, yeah. That is interesting. We haven't been wow. I can't prove that you're Pat Flynn either. I can only say that in our interactions, by referring to you as Pat Flynn,
it's been effective.
It's worked really well. So
we'll just take the pragmatic approach.
Yes.
Alfred says he'd love to hear you guys. He'd love to hear us talk about rest weeks, Dan. So
yeah, I don't know about you, Pat.
Specifically,
but
how often and how much activity? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always used rest weeks in the last 40 years or so as just natural breaks. So if we go down to Disneyland, Epcot, some kind of vacation, those will be my rest weeks. I do sometimes over the holidays where we have 5 or 6 events in a week. That'll be that. One error I made, and this is important for Alfred to know, is I think my lack of downtime impacted my entire career, and that was a mistake in hindsight. I should have taken rest weeks more seriously. Whenever for a while there, I go to workshops, and in fact, I remember very well Coach Lahati going to a workshop to hear a famous discus thrower speak one time, and someone raised their hand and said, "Should you have run more?" And he goes, "Yeah, in hindsight, I guess I should have." So Coach Lahati heard him say, "You need to run, like a cross-country runner every single day of the week for a year." So, he just, I could barely walk up a flight of stairs. My right knee was so bad with patella tendonitis. So when I say in hindsight, I should have done more rest weeks, I didn't. It's just an idea that I think would have been a good idea. I didn't. So that doesn't mean you should rest for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, especially if you're already sort of in the habit of training and exercise. I'm with you, Dan. I sort of just let the natural fluctuations of life determine my rest weeks, just holidays, traveling, stuff like that. Right? Oh, I'm going to be away for a weekend. I'm just naturally just going to not lift, and I'll just walk and do sprints or something like that. Yeah. Right. I think that's just the practical way. But if people need something more structured, the general traditional idea, and I think this is fine, is whatever you're doing, take the volume down 50% for a week.
Not bad.
Just half it all, 50%. Maybe keep intensity about the same, right? But just half all the volume for a week. Yeah.
Well, when I go to Galway, it's interesting because I walk up to 6 to 10 miles a day, and I swim at Salt Hill practically every day during the month, or some other ocean thing. And so when I come back after that month in Galway, I haven't lifted in a month, but I've walked so to me, that is rest time. Yet when you look at the numbers, I'm doing those other things. So yeah.
Good stuff. A lot of good questions today, gents and listeners. Keep them coming. We got a couple minutes to keep jamming around here. John says, "Good morning from Brooklyn." He's got coffee in his cup. Dan, we didn't ask what you're drinking today.
I'm drinking some delicious mountain grown coffee. That's the richest kind, from a small independent company called Folgers.
My wife's absolute favorite. She cannot sing the praises of Folgers enough. Christopher says, "Good afternoon from Sweden. Good to have you here, Christopher."
Hello.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning in. As again, the Pat Flynn Show, internationally known.
Yes.
Ricky says, question for Master Dan. What were you doing in that picture on the internet when you're throwing that barbell with weights? I love that picture, he says. I don't know if I know this picture, Dan.
I think he's referring to a Litvinov workout. I'm not throwing it, I'm dropping it. So that's when it's called lift and sprints. That's overhead squats. And then the moment I finished that last rep on that, it was a set of 8 with 95 pounds. And by the way, I still have those plates. The moment I lock out that 8th rep, I turn and sprint away. So I'm not throwing it, I'm running away from it. And it's interesting because the guy that's in the picture with me is a San Diego Charger defensive back who asked me that day. He said, he asked me about, he goes, "Who's this Eric Weddle guy?" And it's interesting because Eric Weddle will probably end up in the Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. So kind of a cool little story on it.
Jeff says, "Much love, gentlemen." Thank you. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Always enjoy hearing feedback from gentle listeners who work the programs. It's just very cool to hear. Bob says, "I just received my copy of The Sword and the Stone to read based on your talk about it the other day." So.
And Bob, email me and I'll send you some notes on it. Okay.
All the Dan John annotations. Abahai, if I'm pronouncing that right. At some point, somebody will have to just correct me on these pronunciations. He tried the recent 20 presses, 10 squats, 10 curl program, and I was smoked. Correction, it was a workout, not a program. Is that okay as my main daily program or in a No, shouldn't be a program, just a workout. Let's take care of that one quick because Dan probably has no idea the context.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers and there's
Ryan wants to know, this is a good question, how can I incorporate body weight rings into a kettlebell workout? So Dan, maybe we could talk about killer apps, your theme of killer apps here.
Yeah, for me, the killer app, it's the thing about the rings and the suspension trainers is that's the TYIs, the pulls, the single hand pulls, rows, I guess, single arm rows. That's I mean, I've gotten rid of so many little exercises. It sounds weird. I look back, at a program I wrote 20, 25 years ago and be like, God, I do a lot of crap here. And then I realized I didn't have suspension trainers or rings. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And then sometimes I look back at a program 30, 40 years ago and go, God, I got a lot of crap here, and realize that, I wasn't using the kettlebells and half kneeling and, some of those other tools. So, yeah, I think seamlessly the ring work and the kettlebell work. I'm not sure there's a better combination of tools.
It's a wonderful compliment, right? Because, I mean, look, we love the kettlebell, obviously, but it's not... It has certain gaps, right? Yes. It can't do absolutely everything. So, to me, a good minimalist setup, kettlebell, get the ring suspension trainer. I love the ab wheel. And there's one thing you do with ab wheel, and that's ab wheel.
Ab wheel. That's what the killer app means. Yeah.
That's it.
Right? Honestly, if you just did swing, goblet squat, your TYIs, your single arm row, ab wheel, and then maybe the half kneeling press. I mean, honestly, in fact, you probably do that all with just a single kettlebell, the 24. And I don't know if you'd be perfect, but you'd be darn good.
And the nice thing with rings that were at least a limit with suspension trainers back in the day, I don't know if they've become more versatile, is they're great for pull-ups and chin-ups too. So you can feel the vertical pulling, which is a gap with kettlebells. And they're quite inexpensive too. I don't know what suspension trainers run, but I remember back in the day, like the TRX was like well over $100.
Oh, well over 200.
Really? Wow. But like a set of wooden rings should be like $20 to $30. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
One small thing I should share with all my listeners is that I no longer have a tree climbing rope, nor do I have my rings dangling from my tree anymore. And you're going to say, now why?
Why?
The tree doesn't exist anymore.
It's gone.
We have had some weather. So I'm glad I wasn't doing rope climbing when that tree.
Me too, Dan. Me too. Ryan says thanks from Ottawa, Canada, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Always
Ryan.
good to have our friends from Canada.
Paul says the Germans swear by sauerkraut.
Yes, good. Yes, they swear. They swear quite a bit. Scheissen, I think, is the fun. Yeah.
Alfred says thank you so much. I do not know how to pronounce this. We'll just say Gerard here. Wants to know, how did you get so lucky with the sweets and chocolates? What's a long-term and sustainable approach to healthy eating?
Long-term sustainable approach? I would say there's going to go two sides on it. First, master fasting. I would say learning to not eat, embracing hunger. I think that's been, I don't know where you're from, Malaga, blah, blah, but here in the States, when a kid does his homework, the teacher gives him a candy for a treat. That's just not a good way to teach the body to deal with hunger. Hunger is a good thing to have, and we're in a, and I'm sure there's some people who would say that, yeah, I live in hunger. but it's not a choice. There's a difference between fasting and starving, as we say, theology. And then the other thing I would do is, as best you can, have vegetables at every meal and have water as your major source of hydration. Those are to me, that's the most simple approach to healthy eating.
Right. And keep it simple. Have simple rules.
Simple rules.
Practice fasting occasionally, water, protein, right? These are the hinge factors that make a big difference. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And and also environment. I'll just add that too. It's a lot easier to not eat stuff that doesn't exist in your house, right?
It's hard to eat it if it's not there.
It's hard to eat if it's not there. So do some environmental configuring, if you will. All right, let's do one more here, and then I want to hear what else is coming down the pipeline at Dan John University. Dan, Jay has a hurt fingy. Jay says, "Good evening from Vietnam. Have you ever encountered or known someone who suffered an injury to their finger when doing kettlebell swings? My left ring finger went pop when I was on day 3 of the 300 Swings Challenge." Dan, hurt finger.
Well, I hurt my left ring finger helping someone with kettlebell swings not long ago. I went in to help, and the weight hit my hand, and I thought I broke my finger. But it's funny because it's my left ring finger and yours. Yeah, I don't. That's just strange. Jay, you cast it so hard that your body began to break. Yes, that's impressive. I don't. That's impressive. I don't know what to tell you except that's a first for me. Now, I have seen people blow their finger apart doing this when they do double kettlebell work and let the hands touch, which is why I'm kind of strict about how I coach that. But no, that's
freak. Unfortunate things they just happen sometimes, Jay. So lay off of it. Don't do anything that agitates it. If you just need to modify your grip or switch the exercise around for a bit, just if something hurts, don't keep hurting it. It's always the great general rule, right?
That's not exactly. Yeah, but it's true.
Which is, it sounds obvious, but I mean, like, we're all idiots, right? That we don't always follow that advice. I know I've kept hurting things that hurt, so I guilty, right?
Don't kiss rattlesnakes, right?
Right. Dan. So Dan, what else is, as we wrap up here? What else? So you got the second part of the Easy Strength course. Anything else cooking up at Dan John University, or that you want to make our gentle listeners aware of?
Probably in the next few days with a free course on training across a lifetime. And I don't know how long it'll be. It's 5, 6, 7 readings. It's 5, 6, 7. I think it's 7 videos. Very, just some ideas, and then an article on training for master athletes. I think a lot of people, I think you need to step back occasionally and remind yourself where you are and kind of the chronology of things. Basically, I use Nick Rain's breakdown just because it's so simple for me. 16 to 35, 36 to 55, 55 plus. But the most important thing about training across a lifetime, it is like saving for retirement. The earlier you do it, the earlier you get in, the easier it is to get out.
Right.
If you got strong in your teenage years and didn't get fat in your 20s going off to college with pizza and beer, if you maintained a healthy lifestyle in your 30s, you still competed into your 40s and recreational sports, having a good time. When you turn 50, if you're 15% body fat at 50 and you still enjoy pull-ups and playing games, you're probably going to be okay in your 60s, but if you decide to turn everything around at 55, it's going to be a bit more of a mountain. So that's that one. And then of course the Easy Strength one, you'll have that article. And I think, by the way, that article isn't necessarily an Easy Strength article, but it's I think very good.
Well, thank you again very much for that, Dan. So what I will do is, once this is up a little later today on Chronicles Strength with the show notes, I'll just include the full article there. So I encourage the gentle listeners to check it out. Also check out Dan John University.com. Thank you all for the great questions. Please like, comment, subscribe. We got some freebies coming down the pipeline. And other than that, Dan, always a joy and a pleasure. So same time next week.
Yeah, and the week after it'll be from the Pope Pub in England.
Oh, super cool. Super cool. So change of scene. Looking forward to it. Well, indeed, Dan, happy training this week. Happy training to all you gentle listeners, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Fare thee well.
I miss you already, Pat.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.